talk while he's on vacation. I said, oh, I can always come up with that's a bad for people. Bert and I wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping. We haven't done one of our superintendent meetings in several months. So we used to do on Thursdays since we've been doing the strong man kind of series, but we wanted to just re-emphasize again how important it is to doing your job logs every day, even if there's really nothing going on with the job. It's almost it's as important sometimes to know that there's no work on as there is to what they're doing. The only thing I would add is add pictures, more pictures is better. You guys have cameras on your phones or whatever, just get new pictures of progress or something that would be peculiar in the framing and just some kind of a weird situation that came across you today. Or the progress. So that, and then some of us are bad at our notes. Some of us are good. Sometimes we get framer 3, electrician 1, plumber 7. But if you just put one additional sentence with that, framers here working on first floor framing of bulkheads, electricians working on rough framing second floor. One little sentence to go with the guys that are there is very good. It's good to know who's there and how many of them, but one additional little bit of information makes the job make more sense. Right. So it's not write a book. You don't have to talk about, well, I called my wife and I went to the Port of John and we did, we don't need all the information, but just enough to where we can kind of track on our jobs. And go backwards in time sometime and say, we had 8 drywall guys there. Were they on all 3 floors or were they only on 1 floor? So just that little bit of help may one day help us track backwards in our job logs to what they were doing while obviously any problems that you would incur, any phone call problems, any inspections that you called in or scheduled, those are good things to put in the job, right? Enough said.
Well, I want to add something.
Go ahead.
Sean had it the other day, which is really, I saw it and I thought, man, that was great because so we did 2 things in the job log. One, client came out and asked me to do this, which is a change order. The other thing was he made himself a note on the to-do list. He made himself a task to track that change order getting done. But just the fact that he put that in there, that the client came out and asked for this to get done with the change order without that it being as to, all right, and then I have a notebook how I need to help make sure that change order is taken care of. Right, just so that was handy for me. He's using the note section or the task section, which is really, it's cool. It allowed me to see what where his mind was, which is good. So
second piece of housekeeping is we have a safety consultant that we use and employ. Guys, we probably are not as strict or as strong as we could be as a company in general with our safety. Hard hats went out, fall protection went out, poor conditions, all of those things. It just takes one problem and we could be in trouble. So put safety on the front of your brains every day, even when you don't think that there's something at your job that would be safety related. It still needs to be on the brain to make sure we're doing it right to protect it.
What's that guy's name? I think I lost track of that too.
Olympia.
it's Olympia Services. His name
is Gavin, something like that.
Peoples. It's Galen.
Okay, that's me.
Any for Mexicans or just
Oh, Leah.
So the other thing that I haven't seen in a job log in a long time is a toolbox talk.
All right, so that's the third housekeeping thing. Safety goes hand in hand with that, but your schedule reviews with the lead guys, putting the emphasis on them for those job box talks, and documenting those in your daily logs would be very, it's just, we've talked about it in the past, let's just not get lax, right? Make it a priority. We have some, small jobs that are running and it doesn't make sense, right? But we also have big jobs where it makes perfect sense to document and track those weekly things. So just if it's applicable, let's do it. Okay. All right. So you guys continue to chew. When he asked me to do this, and I was trying to think about when I think about strong men in my life, influences on me. Changed on me. Which one?
Number 6. But if you want to flip when you're ready,
So the word kept coming to my brain with men. I mean, if you ask people what the definition of character is, we're not talking about all the characters, right? Because we have others, right? But when you really think about somebody that has what I consider to be a strong personality, that is a man of integrity, which is another word that I would substitute in there. As character, we've been fortunate to work with and be around men that are like that, and I try to pattern myself to that over the years. There's kind of an off definition of what character is. It's what you do and how you act when nobody's watching. Yeah. If you have the same moral ethic, if you have the same thought processes, if you have the same amount of kindness, if you act when nobody's paying attention, and how you conduct your work or your business or your personal life, when you have an opportunity to maybe go to the dark or participate in something that you shouldn't. Someone who has character doesn't do that thing. He does the opposite of that. He tries to maintain, even when nobody knows what's going on, if you still do it. I think that's important. That's to me a brief definition of what character is. So I'm going to flip this. When I wrote these down, I was going to do what I thought the ones that were good character were understood, but I want to do it the other way. So sometimes how it relates to construction in particular, are willing to take the easy way. We know that that's not necessarily the way that it should have been put together or framed, or we can cut a corner or whatever. We take the easy way. To me, that's kind of a sign that you ask yourself that question. Do you think that's a person who has character? If we do that, will you cut corners as long as nobody knows about it? Right? Oh man, we should have put ground. That was supposed to have clips in the wall. We forgot the drywall. Let's just keep going. Okay. Stupid examples, right? And they are examples of you knew what it was, but you made a choice not to do what was right for whatever reason. And if someone were to look at you and perceive you as someone who only cares about money or is greedy, we don't want that kind of company. And our character would be something that would measure that and how we are perceived as a company. All we ever want to talk to them about is the latest invoice and when it's due, and you've got to pay it, or I'm not starting until I get this. You project to your clients or your customers or your subs or whatever, y'all don't care about is money. Because we talk about this. We are a company that is in business to do what? Make a profit. We have to make money, or none of us will be here. Profit is not a dirty word. That's not what I'm talking about. But if they perceive you, your character as someone who only cares about the money, then that's really not what we would want to be perceived as. I wouldn't want to be perceived as a person who only cares about money or greedy. Make sense? So then you flip it back up and say, you always want to do things the right way, even if it's the hard way. And I've got lots of good examples. I mean, we have seasoned, experienced superintendents and project managers out there who, you have those executive decisions lots of times on the job, almost daily, probably, where, hey, this is how it should be done, but I could do it this way, right? And save some time or whatever, but it really wasn't the right. We want to be a company who would do it the right way, even if it may be a little bit hard. Rob's a good example of that. Bert's definitely a good example. Jim, there's lots of them in here. I don't want to single one people out, but there is a way to correct. Mix in the your own specifications same. Right. So you're not only doing it because it's your character would be to do that, but you are protecting the company inevitably. If there's a problem, right? And we can put that drain at the bottom of the foundation, like the drawing shows, right? Because it's faster, easier not to do it. Oh, I have to run to Lowe's and get the whatever. And you allow it without doing it the right way, even if it was harder to do it that way, who'll come back and get us? I would say that it will come back and get us. And when you make constant choices to cut a corner, save some time, even more money, those kind of things come back to get you. And you reap what you sow in those kind of situations. So we would want to be perceived as a company of character that would do it the right way. It costs you a day in your schedule, but dang it, it was the right way. The drawing said do it that way. Right? So let's try to do the right things, be experts, and do things correctly, even if it's not the easy way. Person of character, wanting to make hard decisions and difficult situations. I mean, dread calling that guy because I need him to do something, or I made a mistake, or he made a mistake, and I need to confront him, or the decisions about schedule or whatever. A person who is confident, secure, has good character, also is willing to make those hard decisions. No, let's do it right. Or deal with a sub or a trade partner or a co-worker in a difficult situation. You're the person who said, let's just get it over with. Let's just deal with this now, rather than kicking it down the road, punting it to somebody else to do it later. Right? I want to be the kind of guy, or perceived as the kind of guy who would say, well, that was tough, but he took it head on, right? He admitted his mistakes, or he dealt with a difficult situation right after and tried to make the right decision. I think that's a sign of character of a person who's willing to do that, right? What you should also notice, and I try to instill this in people that I've worked with through the years, and younger guys or whatever, dude, I trust you, right? So you give me a reason not to. So you're out there, you're making decisions, you're trying to do it the right way, or it's a hard decision, or you have to make a difficult situation. I'll back you, right? And I tell Dan that, I tell Tyler that, or I tell Malone that, or whoever, do it. We're in this together, right? We'll fix it later if we have to, but let's just get on with it. So you got the support of your project managers behind you that helps you make, handle it, right? I think a person of character can be strong, but still deals with others with kindness. Right. I try to do that. I think you catch more flies with honey than you do vinegar. Right? In general, sometimes you have to be that guy, right? Right, Glenn? Yep. Sometimes you have to be that guy, right? To your trade partner. You give him every opportunity. You try to be nice. You try to be kind. Whatever. Sometimes you have to just put it to him the way it has to be. You don't have a choice in this. This is the way it's going to be, or I'll find somebody else to do it. Right. But you can still do that with kindness, right? I want my trade partners and our purveyors and our subcontractors to want to do business. Right? I want them to make money. That's, but the best way to get there, you can be strong, you can tell them how it is, but you can still do it with kindness. I think that shows care. I want to be perceived as a person with good, with kindness. I can't do it all the time, but most of the time. Right? And then you have to be willing to admit when you're wrong. Doesn't have to be wrong. Thank goodness. But you admit it. Then I admit it. But, we don't make mistakes. You miss stuff. I'll tell you to do something that's totally wrong. You know it's wrong. It takes a person of high character to admit when they're wrong. Right? Either ask for forgiveness with your family or with your coworker or with the purveyor. It happens. I want to be perceived as someone who is willing to be. It's hard, right? But I think that a good leader should be willing to do that, and a person of high character or integrity should be willing to do that. Not list it somehow so that no matter what, you're still not to blame somehow, right? Where you're trying to be Teflon, nothing sticks to you. You're gonna twist it, manipulate it so that okay, yeah, you made me look like I was really, here's what really happened. You don't know the whole story. All of those things are how people perceive you. So, but I mean, you probably know you have a lot of examples in the work out there, people that you consider to have high integrity. I think our leaders here in our company, people of high integrity, here. Yeah,
We can have that. There's a big difference, and there are always more ways to do things.
sure.
And if there's always, everybody has a different opinion on what the right thing means. And it's interesting that when you're doing a remodel, always there's no clear stopping point. You can go and go. I mean, is it the right thing to do, or is it what they pay? They think that it's easy to have good integrity when somebody else is paying the bill.
Sure.
And when somebody else is paying, and then, so I always think, well, I take that money out of my pocket, and somebody always thinks you should be doing something or doing this, but they're not paying the bill. Or they want to get as much as they can, so where did you start and stop? Because somebody think you should be doing this, and this. And to do the right thing. So it gets very creative.
You can, for sure. And I totally 100% agree with you. And I kind of refer back to the opening comment, that it's not a business to make money. And you can't be a pushover. Everything goes for free. Yeah, similar to this discussion the other night about that. Where we did the job complete, done, and then Kroger moved a big section of shelving and whatever, and now there's a whole wall that's not painted, and there's glue all over everything, and there's release missing, and it looks like it never got touched. So that did it right with their shelving in place, correct? And then now it's going. And you see the pictures of it, and Tyler's like, "Well, you saw the pictures, you would understand." I'm thinking, wait a second. Hey, yeah, we don't want to just give them something for free. If anyone wants to just, we might have to do a change or whatever. And then when you see it, you go, a 2-word reply to the text. Fix it. Right? You can't be a pushover. I agree with you, Rick. You have to be aligned. Sometimes you're playing. You can always
push off, but what happens to you? When somebody else says yes, you say no. Who has integrity? Who doesn't?
Sure.
And I mean, there's always that. I mean, we know it's right.
And I'm lost with it. This is a confession for a lot. Because there are a lot of times where I want my jobs to be rough. I want my jobs to be ultra. Right? I don't want to be the guy who makes this company money. Because I want to lose money every job. Well, Something off of one of these guys and Bert's like, no, that's not the right way to do that. You should do. Another range.
That question needs to go back to the person in the middle. And at that point, hey, this is gonna cost us this much money. Your money, not mine. I mean, it's easy for me to spend your money and tell you, oh, you're gonna spend this money, take it out of your pocket, or you don't have any integrity. That's.
No,
I feel like the clearer the scope and the clearer the contract, the clearer the integrity.
What would be nice.
I don't think we're talking,
Yeah.
I don't think we're not, he's talking about those types of situations.
I'm trying not.
I think he's more talking about, well, like,
When you know that there is a right decision, if you know that there was something missed in framing detail, and now you're faced with, gosh, should I tear the drywall off and fix it or should I not?
Does anybody? I think every behavior is going to be the right thing. We're not talking about.
but there's always the temptation.
Yes.
There's always the temptation.
There is. There's
Right.
man, nobody. It's already done. Mine.
Yeah, the thing caved in before I got the gravel around the front. Boy, I get somebody in there to take it out. There's always just that, you ask yourself those questions. Everybody, I ask myself those questions. I assume everybody asks themselves the question. It's only 12 feet of a 40-foot foundation, isn't gonna matter, right? So it's that those types of things, we're not talking about, I don't think Glenn's talking about, my client says this and I say this, and we're both right. That's a totally different scenario where then what you do is you deal with that, you deal with that with character by, you're not yelling and screaming, you're not messing them out, you're not just saying, oh, you work it out together, right? And that's what the character is about. It's not a.
If I flip on, if you go down to, if the person perceives you, well, what decision you make, they think, oh, I'm sure that's the money. It may be true. You don't have to do that something, right? Like you said, if it's coming out of your own pocket, what would you do? Right?
I feel horrible a lot of times because we do things that we don't before. And I feel like that's for integrity too. And when we do something, we don't charge it, or we do extra stuff when we do this. And so I just want something that might be unfair. Because I'm fair to everybody else. I mean, like the person working. So then you get into those great areas all the time because I'm still responsible.
Absolutely.
But I probably take advantage of them more than I do. Would you agree, Leo?
Yeah, the issues are, when you do some things free, so they sometimes they want more. And more and more. So that's the issue. So I don't know. It's hard.
Perfect.
Yeah, I don't.
Chalk it up, Dad. Well, but you're keeping the integrity of the company as somebody.
And it's easy to figure out how to one.
Yeah.
Never keeps paying for me to be the good.
And I think the point of so he's talking about the future. He's looking on the future. So if we do the things, so if somebody, I don't know, do the handles on one of our projects, so they're gonna see him. This is the right way to do the job. So okay, that company is doing a good job or something. If something goes wrong, so they're gonna chance.
Yeah,
They're gonna lose job.
It's part of it, for sure. That is probably what I was saying. About. Pulling it back into someone. Rick, you guys are dealing with homeowners. It's a little different situation. Sometimes on the commercial side, it's mostly you're dealing with your subs. So what you allow them to play with, or because it's just easier not to. It's easier to look the other, or it's You know what I mean? And what I was really kind of bringing out there on those particular points was, guys, yeah. No, that's wrong, fix it, you know? But it's gonna cost us. It's wrong. The plan clearly says to do it this way, and we didn't do it that way. You didn't do it that way. I need you to do it that way. Those are hard conversations, hard decisions, when it would be almost easier to go. Yeah, I see your point. Nobody's gonna, right, you know? And that was really what I was trying to refer to, more than the, you know. Or you're cheating someone, or you feel like you're cheating someone.
Or something like a paid employee here. And I mean, I can't. And really do that.
And that's the good part about who we work for. I think we have, you made my last point, really, is that I think our company is full of people like that. I think we are, we can always do better. The first one can do better. But we want to be the company that people say, yeah, those guys do it right. If you get the feeling that it's all about the money, right? They're good dudes to be around. They treat me with kindness, even in hard, tough decisions. And to me, that's a strong, productive company that's it's setting itself up for good future growth and huge development too. I think that's really what it's. A person that has character wouldn't it's a confession. I lean towards faster, deeper. Yeah, we kind of all have that in. We're talking for me. You know, how can we get it done faster and cheaper? And it's kind of ingrained into a project manager to kind of think that way. When you have a set of plans that tells you to do it the right way, we should do it that way. It's gonna be better for our company in the long run to do it correct.
If the plans tell you to do it a way that's not correct, you should still do it the correct way.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
we
We haven't run
run,
across that at all.
Yeah, they're not all in the right. That's for sure.
we had a Kroger with mold. We had mold on drywall. We pulled off the cladding and we went and bought some spray bleach, my one sub, and he's like, well, it's kind of coming off. And I said, well, we're taking these water fountains off. There might be a leak behind the wall. Why put brand new cladding up when it could, you know, get wet again, not have good adhesion? So I said, let's cut it all out. We'll change order Kroger Greenboard in.
So it was a right thing.
That's what we did. And then you don't have that worry of, hey, are these boards gonna be off the wall in 5-6 months?
You pay the dividends.
Yeah.
Future dividends.
Yeah, well, I think you have to leave a space of money in that situation. When you're gonna open a wall or something that you don't know what is behind the scenes, so
Mhm.
I don't know, you have to let the homeowner, I don't know, the owner know about it, so you're gonna add more money later. You find something that needs to be fixed.
Yeah, or like we put a slatted bloom wall in, and it didn't have lights in it. The old one had lights in it. So we abandoned one of the boxes. I called the electricians back. They had already left for the night. They were at lunch. So I said, hey, you guys gotta come back. I'm really sorry, you know. There's these 2 boxes we got into that we're not gonna use anymore. So he said, well, I can just put the wire back in the wall. And I said, well, that's not code, you know. Yeah, it's gonna be covered up, but it's code to be in a junction box. So put it in a box and put it back in the wall. And then the other one, we didn't put in the wall, we mounted on top of the cabinet, so if anybody ever needed electric, there was access above that, so. Doing it just the right way, but it's the same thing, it's like. Guy's there, he's like, hey, I can do it this way. Well, this is kinda, you know, this is the right way, you should do it, this is the code, and then. Well, yeah, you're right, we'll do it that way then, and then it's fine. Everybody's knows they've done the right thing. You don't have to go home worrying about it.
Well, that's all I had. Unless somebody has another comment or an example.
I can't think about the door closing to your planes. You know, when did all of this make Kevin think about that, because they, you know, that, according to the news or whatever, it was all, you know, instead of the people doing the jobs properly and putting in those door screws or whatever, they just worrying about it, and then the people were up in, you know, 50,000 feet or whatever, that door, like, thing flies out, and I mean, you probably wouldn't have that problem, but as a owner or a person that, you know, would hire a professional, I mean, I think it makes sense that you would wanna put a little bells and whistles in there in your wall or whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's the good one.
I learned it from that.
Can I have access to
Well, if they slide out the can, they can have access. That thing's screwed into the wall, it's never coming out.
You live in a world of gray, don't we?
We do, but if we build our reputation as a company that is that has integrity, and we stand behind our people, we have trade partners that do things like, we got a trade partner that called me the other day. We stopped working on a job. It's, you know, we're done. We're most likely not gonna be able to pay him. He knows that we're most likely not gonna be able to pay him. And he called and I said, they're calling and asking if I wanna come work for him, if I wanna finish for this other company. And I said, hey, if you can make your money back, why not? And he said, nope, not doing that to Transform. They've treated us too well through all the years, so I'm not doing that to Transform. I'll take my odds that I get paid. But he wouldn't go work for this other company because of our reputation with them. That's pretty solid. I mean, and we're not talking about a couple $100. You know, there's definitely, there could be, it's 5 figures, yeah. So, but that says a lot for what we are as a company to our trade partner. So we wanna build on that, right?
And look at his integrity.
Yeah.
And that's everything.
Right.
But, you know, getting back to Rick's point, we talk about character in the sense that of what we can, the things that we look at, we do that we know we should do, and thus we do it, we take that high road. But there is a whole nother side to the character that Rick's bringing up when, and it probably is more residential than commercial, where that, you know, the client is taking maybe an advantage. Because you're right, there's more gray areas than there is commercial. It's go to the print. Us, we can go to the contract.
Unless you work for me.
Exactly. Well, it does. You know, the best example.
Right.
So you can be strong and a man of integrity when you stand up to him in that,
Yes.
not those difficult situations
Yeah.
where you say, no,
Yeah.
that wasn't what we agreed to, or that wasn't included in our relation. And you can push back
Yeah.
with kindness.
And I think that's what was so great, strong, but still deal with others with kindness. Then when you've done that, because at some point, we're setting that standard of integrity. Even if we deal with a client, because I know you're dealing with one, where that we know morally the high road, and we deal with kindness, and maybe we gotta give something that we know we don't need. We know contract wise, but we're gonna do it because we're gonna take the high road. And we expect that there's some form of reciprocation. And when we don't get that, and it's just another layer, another list, another thing, that's where the other side of this character discussion comes in, because it's like, okay, well, you have to dig your heels in and say, no, okay, well, then I want to go to arbitration. I'm taking you to court, or I'm going to the Better Business Bureau. And you're like, well, wait a minute, can I do everything that I could have possibly have done Oh, there, we could name those businesses.
We don't need it. A lot of people want some for nothing.
Yeah, exactly. But how do you deal, to Rex's point, we deal with that situation with character.
Well, I think you do exactly what he said. You go and talk to Everett and Joshua, and you say, hey, here's my situation. How to get your money? How, do we wanna dig our feet in here, or? You said you felt guilty a little bit sometimes, but
I think there's, I see a lot. This is the right thing we're gonna do it. Because it's not their money.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think it's easy. When students.
I agree with that.
And think that who's to play, I don't think we're talking about anybody stealing cars, we all care. We're not, you know, and if you're that bad of character, this people help you. We're talking about, we're talking about the looks, that you make sure you cut our others, aren't we?
Mhm.
So, and I think we're talking about how.
Doing right.
That's too well. I think too many times we get on the highways, I'm always do the right thing, I do this, and I took care of this, and I did that. But we don't take into consideration, yeah, I paid for it, gosh, what they probably paid for it.
Mhm.
It's the right thing to do, you know? And it's not your decision to make sometimes.
Right,
And-
so what's
And
the, what's,
somebody else is looking at you, well, you have character, you could have done this, you're gonna cut corners, you're gonna keep the.
I agree with you.
So that's what.
What's
I-
the other use of parenting?
And I mean, look. The customer's okay with this door frame coming right here, Leo says change it because that's the only thing, the right thing to do. Customer could care less, they didn't pay for it, the old floor was there. So what do I do? Because I'm filming for the cheap here. I mean, so there's technically right, yeah, yes. Did they pay for it? No, it's pretty, I mean, you get into all this stuff that.
I think it is very situational at times too, though, you know, it depends on the clients, you know, some people that.
Exactly, then it
Are
comes down to.
everything we're doing, meant to the team, there's other people like. That's great, you know, so you kind of, I guess, keep your values on. I mean, I guess always having integrity is always wanting to, if there's something, you want to do something about it, but. Picking and choosing how far in depth you're gonna go with. Are we gonna completely tear out your bathroom floor and put heated floors in because we forgot, or are we gonna kinda, which that was tearing. He was one of those very, that's not very thing anymore. It's so good.
Mine just get back. Which did not work for me, lawyer.
Heated rugs. Definitely situation.
But in that, to Rick's point, I mean, that's ultimately how do you reconcile your character and integrity when you deal in situations like that? Residentially, I think it's the nature of the beast more. And everybody, I mean, everybody, I point around the room has been in those situations with a client that, you know, the punch list keeps growing type of thing. And you're going like, okay, well, I send Leo and his crew out for a whole nother day or a week to do that, even though we know we're already over the bottom. I mean, that's, yeah, ultimately, I guess, the company pays for it, and yeah, you're right, you make those decisions, sometimes it's, yeah, let's keep doing it, or sometimes it's, no, let's stop. That's tough, because one side's always gonna do your integrity less, because you're not getting what. And that's what you.
Yeah. We're all the villain in somebody's story.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And when you know that you've taken that high road, day in, day out, and still you're gonna be perceived as the villain, and you still have to act with kindness.
That's the hard road.
And you gotta swallow hard. And Nobody likes it, nobody even wants to be in those situations, but you find yourself in these situations and how are you gonna act?
I think you get to a certain point where. You get tired of those customers, and you want those, how much of you can give them. And pretty soon, you don't do this anymore.
And you can honest.
Then when you.
I don't,
Slightly time to turn that off.